Pascal. You are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild, Haitian in the building, so original. Got the haters catching feelings. Get your hands up to the ceiling and keep them held high, cause St. Louis is ready. Forget about it, goodbye. Hold on, we just saying hi. Five somebody, rise up weekdays. Catch us live, somebody, let's go.
Good afternoon. Woo! Good evening. And good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Pascal Show. Hope you guys all doing well out there. Holy cow. Holy cow. Holy cow. What a week. What a week it has been. And I apologize if I look a little sweaty right now. I literally just kind of like ran home in the middle of my errands and stuff like that for the day, and busting my hump to get here, get things moving, and get things rolling and ready for this conversation and for this press conference that's allegedly going to be happening in about 15 minutes from now. And we are finally getting closer to finding some truth, which is crazy. This is crazy. I'm just, hold on. I need a second to like process all of this. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is Karen on Facebook said full moon week. Yeah. I mean, you had everything from Suzanne Morphew's body being discovered and you know, of course, being identified this week, to now we gonna finally find out what happened to Tupac. Some of y'all say Tupac. Well, we finally gonna find out what happened to Tupac. Damn! What a week it has been. Oh my! And this is one way to close out the September. You know what I'm saying? This is big. This is big. So there's some really big things that are going on. We're going to be talking about a few things. I got some things to talk to you guys about. Tyler, man. Tyler, my dude. My brother Tyler. I did not expect this either, man. But I'm here for it. You know what I'm saying? This is huge, y'all. This is huge. In the land of true crime conversations, to hip hop history, to hip hop lore, okay? This is very big deals, as a Russian would say. Very, very big deals. This is very big deals. Okay? Very big deals. Big deal. Okay? So we got to talk about this. And we're going to be looking at, hopefully I got the right link to the press conference. We're going to be taking a look at this press conference, and hopefully they drop some bombs. But apparently, before I get ahead of myself, like I always do, because I get excited, and this is huge, y'all, in the world of hip hop. Okay? Wow. This is big. This is big. Okay, guys. And we're all going through it together as a family. Okay? So, here it is. Please do me a favor. Hit that like button down below. Crush it. Make it scream out your name. You know the deal. If you're watching on Facebook, okay, I know some of y'all are watching on Facebook. Please hit that reaction button down below. That'd be very, very appreciated. This is a very, very big deal. This is groundbreaking, y'all. This is decades in the making. Okay, so we're about to witness some history in the making, hopefully. So hit that like button down below, crush it. Let people know that we're about to watch this, okay? And we got some big news coming up here, hopefully. Hit that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook, please be sure to crush. Let me lower this down a little bit. Crush that follow button on my Facebook page, please and thank you, all right? Like I said, I dropped everything to get my tookus back into this purple-ash room to give you guys this breaking story. And I might get some friends hopping in throughout this, maybe after the press conference, which will be happening in about 12 minutes from now. Okay, guys. So don't forget, subscribe, hit that follow button if you're watching on Facebook, or if you're watching on YouTube, you know what the deal is. Hit that join button down below. If you're watching on YouTube, support the channel. Okay, it's less than a cup of coffee from Starbucks, all right? It's not that expensive, but it helps this channel keep moving forward, okay? But most importantly, just comment, put in your 2 cents. That's greatly appreciated, okay? That's more than a cup. of coffee at Starbucks, just so you know. And that comes from my heart to yours. Now, we got to talk about this. This is, like I said, a very big deal. Okay? Very, very big deals. As you can see right here, suspect Keefe D, 60 years old, is charged with emming Tupac. Compton Crip gang leader confessed in his memoir. Let me just say something, okay? You don't say certain things if you don't want to get caught. Let me repeat that again. You don't say certain things if you don't want to get caught, especially putting it in your own memoir. So he allegedly, this leader confessed in his memoir about hunting down Tupac and taking his life in that 1996 drive-by. I'm just like literally, like he couldn't go through life. He couldn't go through life keeping the quiet. Now, let me just say this. I'm not sitting here saying like, damn, man, why you got to talk, man? No. Please be dumb. Please be one of the dumbest criminals in the history of dumbest criminals. Please put it in a memoir and talking about things like what OJ did. Like he was about to write a book and he was about to say like, you know, if I had done it, this is what I would have done types ish. Okay. Same thing, dude. You don't write it out. Books are forever. Let's keep it real. Books are forever. Just want to point that out really, really quick. Some people are just dumb. Don't worry, we're going to get into this article here for, you know, a brief moment, but I want to make sure that we have the proper things ready. Yes, 8 minutes away and counting, and a little bit over 8.5 minutes away and counting, just so you guys can see it. Proof positive. It is actually happening. Okay. There will be a press briefing here very, very soon. We are going to be watching it as a family. My mind is blown. I'm very excited. And I'm sure the Shakur family is, I'm hoping, taking this time to find some moments to heal, and they can finally rest. Okay, so let's get into this article. All right, we got 8 minutes or so we're gonna blaze through this ish. Okay, we're gonna be blazing through this. All right, but a 60-year-old gang leader has been charged with ordering the 1996 shooting of Tupac Shakur after bragging for years about his involvement in the M. Duane Keefe D Davis was taken into custody on Friday morning by Las Vegas detectives. Let me finish this. And has been charged with M with use of a deadly weapon. Now I want to point something out here. Just a few months ago, if y'all didn't remember this, and I didn't really cover it because I was like, I'm waiting for something big to happen before I cover it, because I know everybody and their mom is going to get very, very hype about, oh, they did a search warrant, they busted through some doors and did X, Y, and Z to get some evidence inside that house. But that doesn't mean anything until there's an actual arrest. And now they have an arrest. But months ago, police busted through the doors of Keefe D's home to get some things from his home. I'm still wondering what it was that they got from his home, and maybe that will be explained here in a little bit. But we've been talking about this, or at least my eyes have been on this for a little while now. Grace, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. I really do appreciate it. He wrote in his memoir, it's just as smart as the monster husband that was Googling on how to get rid of a 120-pound body. Exactly. I mean, it is. I need to start I really need to start a segment on the show or something just called like the world's dumbest criminals. You know, the world's dumbest monsters, because there are stories beyond like on top of stories, on top of stories, on top of stories that are just absolutely mind-blowing. But we're going to get into let's get back into this article. But yeah, he wrote this in a memoir. Let's see what they're talking about. So a Nevada grand jury indicted. So he's been indicted in the unaliving after being seated for several months. Davis was arrested while on a walk near his home. Chief Deputy District Attorney D. Giacomo described Davis as the on-ground, on-site commander who ordered the demise of Shakur. So he was the shot caller. All right. Okay. And Mrs. Estrada, let me just say this. I don't present the world's dumbest criminals. I would just talk about the world's dumbest criminals. Okay. But I need to do something because there's some people who are dumb. But he has been denied bail by the Clark County District Judge Weiss, something like that. He has spoken openly about being at the scene of the drive-by shooting 27 years ago and admitted handling the weapon that actually took his life. He was handing the weapon to a fellow gang member. Why? Why? Like, why, man? He said this out loud, yo. This is the dumbass, y'all. This is the dumb ass. Idiot. Exhibit 1,000,000 because we've seen a lot of idiots, idiot monsters out here. The DA, Wolfson, said, it has often been said that justice delayed is justice denied. In this case, justice has been delayed, but justice won't be denied. So, of course, in a documentary previously named Davis's nephew as the actual trigger man, with the gangster bragging about his involvement in the unaliving of Tupac in books and in interviews. So not only did he put it on in black and white, but he also was in interviews going, "Yeah, man, I made the call. Man, in fact, I'm the one who handed the gun to the dude who shot him." Who's dumb? Who's dumb? Who's dumb? Oh, the Compton Crypt gang member even wrote a memoir. Well, I would just say it, but I'll say it in from this article. He even wrote a memoir confessing to his role in the fatal unaliving of the hip hop legend. He claimed in the 2018 documentary that he was riding in the car with his nephew, Orlando Baby Lane Anderson, and handed him the weapon before he fired. And of course, at that time, Shakur was only 25 years old when he was hit 4 times in the chest on September 7th, 1996, while he was in Vegas. He later on passed away on September 13th. Davis wrote in his 2019 tell-all memoir, Compton Street Legend, actually Compton Street Dumbass, okay, that he was in the Cadillac involved in the unaliving, in the trigger, in the shooting. I'll just say shooting, F it. In the book, he said that he told authorities about his involvement in the unaliving in 2010 during a closed-door meeting with federal and local authorities. They promised they would shred the indictment and stop the grand jury if I helped them out, he wrote. This guy is just dumb. Compton Street Legend. See, Keefe D. Wow. Look at that. Real quick, because we got 2 more minutes till they're allegedly going to be starting. But it says Notorious Keefe D's street level accounts of Tupac and Biggie M's, Death Row origins, Suge Knight. What does that say? That's going to drive me crazy. Suge Knight, Puffy Combs, and Crooked Cops. He's special, guys. He's special. Here's the photo of where Tupac was attacked. 1996, y'all. 25 years old. Oozing with talent and oozing with an immense amount of potential. Gone. At the time, he was 46 and facing life in prison on drug charges when he agreed to speak with the authorities. The arrest comes 2 months after Vegas cops raided Davis's home. This was, see what I was saying? 2 months ago, they raided his wife's home, on July 17th, looking for items concerning to the unaliving of Tupac Shakur. Authorities seized multiple computers, a cell phone, and a hard drive from the property, and a Vibe magazine featuring Shakur. They also took several .40 caliber bullets, two tubs containing photographs, and a copy of Davis's memoir. I mean, that's enough right there. Just take the copy of the memoir. You don't need anything else, you feel me? But let's take a look. Let's see if they got this thing moving. If we're ready to go. They're supposed to be going here soon. Okay. Yeah, S baby. Who shot you? Keefe D. Thanks for the 2 Canadian. I appreciate it. But damn right. Who did it? Keefe D. If you're out here wondering, Keefe D. Or actually, he made the call, handed the gun over to somebody else, and they pulled the trigger. But he was the shot caller. Crazy. And then he went on to boast and brag about this, not only in a memoir, but also in interviews as well. It hasn't started yet. This is crazy. I'm trying to see. Let me see if there's any other people that are covering this as well. Oh, okay. Let me see. Yeah, we're all waiting. We're all waiting. See, this is the part that aggravates me when it's like, yo, we're ready. We're all here, suited and booted, ready to go with all the information, and now we got bupkis. That's annoying. But don't worry, we're gonna keep an eye on that. Okay, I'm pulling this over here so I can read it over here while we all see this, just in case. Okay, so more information here. So of course they seized two tubs containing photographs, bullets, etc., and a copy of his memoir. Let's not forget that too. All right. So insiders to the investigation claimed in August that homicide detectives were optimistic about bringing a charge in the case. Sources told the U.S. Sun that the district attorney's office was set to present their case to a grand jury last month. They added that a criminal case was expected imminently, and they were looking at a first-degree M potentially for Keefe D, based on Nevada law. Metro Police investigators have long and careful considerations over moving forward on the case, saying that they did not enter into the investigation lightly. They knew that the world would be watching if they took any action against Davis, a source said. They do not want to make any missteps. A separate source, and let me say that too. Yeah, the whole world is watching, most definitely. We are not playing around. We talk about Tupac, y'all. This is Tupac. Okay. So of course, we all want to know what's going on, what's popping off here. We all want to know the truth. So if they had to make sure all of their ish was completely put together. Let's rock and roll. Oh, the sound is tracked. Boom.
For 27 years, the family of Tupac Shakur
Sound is
has been
trash.
waiting for justice. We are here today to announce the arrest of 60-year-old Duane Keefe Davis, aka
Here we go.
D, for the murder of
Get those
Tupac
likes.
Shakur.
Get those likes up.
Davis was arrested this morning by my LVMPD criminal apprehension team, and this investigation started on the night of September 7th, 1996. it is far from over. It has taken countless hours, really decades, of work by the men and women of our homicide section to get to where we are today. Several of those detectives that are standing here with us include Detective Cliff Mogg, the lead detective on this case. He is now retired. While I know there's been many people who did not believe that the murder of Tupac Shakur was important to this police department, I'm here to tell you that was simply not the case. It was not the case back then, and it is not the case today. Our goal at LBMPD has always been to hold those accountable and responsible for Tupac's violent murder accountable. Just like we do for every homicide victim in our city. Every single victim, every life that is lost is important and remains a priority to this police department. As we methodically built this case to move forward with an arrest, it was also important that at the same time, we're building towards a successful prosecution. We work closely with our esteemed district attorney, Steve Wolfson, in his office to ensure that is going to happen. Mr. Davis's own words reinvigorated our case in 2018. I'm going to give you some of those details, and I'm going to introduce to you our homicide lieutenant, Jason Johansson, and he will provide you many of the details on how we got here today.
Thank you, Sheriff, and thank you everybody for being here today. My name is Jason Johansson, and I'm the homicide lieutenant with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. And my goal here today is to walk you through our investigation and what led us to the indictment of Duane Davis, also known as Keefe D, for the murder of Tupac Shakur. This case has been reviewed by our homicide team and homicide detectives for over 2.5 decades. And ultimately, our persistence in this investigation has paid off. Let me walk you through a timeline of events that as we know them right now. Prior to September 7th of 1996, as we all know, Tupac Shakur was an artist who was signed with Death Row Records. The Death Row Records and its CEO, Marion Suge Knight, were closely affiliated with the Mob Piru criminal street gangs, and that they had an ongoing feud with the Southside Compton Crips. Duane Davis was the leader and shot caller of the Southside Compton Crips. And both of these gangs operated out of the Southern California area of Compton. On the night of September 7th of 1996, Tupac Shakur, along with Suge Knight and members of their entourage, which include members of Mob Piru, came to Vegas to attend the Mike Tyson fight at the MGM Grand Garden Arena. Members of the Southside Compton Crips, which included Duane Davis, along with his nephew, Orlando Anderson, were also in attendance at the same event. As both were leaving the fight, members of Death Row Records spotted Orlando Anderson near an elevator bank inside the MGM, and at that time they began to kick and punch him near that elevator bank. I will now show you hotel security footage, as many of you have already seen, related to this incident. And on this incident, you will see Tupac Shakur, who's wearing a shiny satiny shirt, along with Marion Suge Knight, who's a large man in a brown suit, punching and kicking Orlando Anderson. Following this incident, you'll see hotel security intervene, and then they will leave the area of the fight.
Come on, show us that.
Little did anyone know that it is this incident right here that would ultimately lead to the retaliatory shooting and death of Tupac Shakur.
Well,
following this incident, Tupac and Suge Knight both left the MGM to make their way to a post-fight party, which was to occur at a local nightclub. At the same time, word had spread amongst members of the Southside Compton Crips of what had occurred inside the MGM. And then that's when Duane Davis began to devise a plan to obtain a firearm and retaliate against Suge Knight and Mr. Shakur for what occurred inside the hotel against Mr. Anderson. After Davis obtained a gun, he entered into a white Cadillac along with Terrence Brown, DeAndre Smith, and Orlando Anderson. Based on our investigation, this is where we know they were seated. At some point in time, as they were in the white Cadillac, Mr. Davis took the gun that he had obtained and provided it to the passengers in the rear seat of the vehicle. As they were driving west on Flamingo Road near Koval, they located the black BMW, which was driven by Suge Knight, and then the passenger seat was Tupac Shakur. And as they turned around, they pulled up near the passenger side of that vehicle and immediately began shooting at Mr. Knight and Mr. Shakur. Following that shooting, the white Cadillac fled the area southbound on Koval. And after our officers arrived on scene, Tupac was later transported to the University Medical Center, where he was treated medically and died approximately 6 days later on September 13th. My homicide section handled this investigation from its onset and for a short amount of time. And within a short amount of time, what we knew was that we were working a gang investigation where our victims, our witnesses, and our suspects were all from Southern California and not local to Las Vegas. Within the first few months of the investigation, our detectives knew most of the information I just briefed you on. However, we never had the necessary evidence to bring this case forward and present it for criminal charges. As time went on, this case had been reviewed multiple times by different investigators assigned to my section, but it wasn't until 2018 that this case was reinvigorated as additional information came to light related to this homicide. Specifically, Duane Davis's own admissions to his involvement in this homicide investigation that he provided to numerous different media outlets. In our section, we knew at this time that this was likely our last time to take a run at this case to successfully solve this case and bring forth a criminal charge. It was at that time that this case was assigned to Cliff Mogg, a detective within my homicide section. And over the last 5 years, my section worked closely hand in hand with the Clark County District Attorney's Office and followed a systematic investigative plan over the last 5 years. We've conducted countless interviews and corroborated numerous facts that were not only consistent with the crime scene on the night of the incident, but also corroborated and were consistent with the sequence of events that night. This ultimately led to us procuring a search warrant, which was executed at Mr. Davis's residence in Henderson, Nevada. And following the execution of that search warrant, in close coordination with the District Attorney's Office, this case was presented to the grand jury, which ultimately led to Davis being indicted on charges of murder. Before I hand it off to the District Attorney's Office, I would be remiss if I didn't thank Detective Mogg and all the other detectives that were not only assigned this case and reviewed this case, but all the other detectives from other agencies that assisted us in this investigation. They know who they are, and thank you very much for all the assistance you provided. It does not go unnoticed. And lastly, one of the most important things, in my opinion, is that we need to make this be a reminder that the charge of murder does not have a statute of limitations. This agency has been and is invested in solving our cold case homicides so that we can bring closure to those families and justice for those victims of homicide. And with that, I will turn it over to the Clark County District Attorney, Steve Wilson.
Thank you, Lieutenant Johansson. I appreciate it. Good afternoon. I am the Las Vegas Clark County District Attorney, Steve Wolfson. It has often been said, justice delayed is justice denied. It's a quote we hear often and for many, many years when talking about our legal system, but not in this case. Today, justice will be served in the murder of Tupac Shakur. I'd like to acknowledge the relentless work of the many Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department homicide detectives. We've mentioned Detective Cliff Mogg many times, and we can't mention his name enough. He is the detective, along with his colleagues, that brought this case here today to you. A Clark County grand jury has indicted Duane Keefe Davis with 1 count of open murder with use of a deadly weapon with a gang enhancement. Davis will appear in court in the next few days or so for a hearing to determine his custody status and to set a jury trial date. This grand jury has been receiving evidence for months and has determined there is sufficient evidence to justify the filing of this criminal indictment. I've assigned 2 of my top prosecutors, Mark DiGiacomo and Banu Palal, to prosecute this case. I know a lot of people have been watching and waiting for this day. Tupac Shakur is a music legend, and for a long time, this community and worldwide have been wanting justice for Tupac. Today, we are taking that first step. Tupac was actually quoted as saying, "Death is not the greatest loss in life. The greatest loss is what dies inside while still alive. Never surrender." Well, we didn't surrender thanks to the great work of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department under the leadership of Sheriff Kevin McMahill, Lieutenant Johansson, retired Detective Cliff Mogg. I am proud to announce the return of this document. This is the indictment we've been waiting almost 3 decades for. It spells out the facts and circumstances and what justifies a Clark County grand jury in returning an indictment. Justice will be served. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. I just like to say that the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department Homicide Section year over year solves over 90% of the homicides that occur in our jurisdiction. You won't find that anywhere else in the United States. For those family members that have lost somebody that we haven't solved that case, I want you to know, just like in this case, we're not going to give up. I also say to you that as we begin, we're going to take a couple of questions. I want you to remember in your questioning that this investigation, subsequent arrest, and now indictment is only the beginning of the process. And we are committed and invested in ensuring a successful prosecution as we move forward. So with that, we'll take any questions that you might have.
Okay, let's go.
Ken?
Sheriff, thank you. Have you been in touch with the Shakur family, anyone within here today? And if so, can you characterize what they told you?
The family has reached out to my office. I imagine also to Metro. We've been in communication with them. We understand that they are welcoming this news. They are pleased with this news, and they are certainly aware of the return of this indictment.
Do you anticipate them being at court for arraignment of Mr. Davis?
I don't think they'll be at the arraignment. I mean, that's a relatively short hearing, but I know that they'll be involved. I know that they'll want to be apprised of what goes on a frequent basis.
Back.
Can you talk about any of the statements that he made that piqued your curiosity again or got you back into this case?
Jason, you want to answer that? We're not going to talk about any particular statements, but maybe he can address that.
What I'll say is there's lots that's going to come out when it comes time for trial, but he provides his own series of statements that are very consistent with the evidence that we have on the scene that we've obtained through our investigation. I'll leave it at that.
Did you identify anything that came from the raid, the service of the warrant in July that you didn't know before?
Yeah, that's a good question. What I'll say about the search warrant that we did in July, that we obtained information or evidence during that execution of that search warrant that corroborated information obtained through our investigation. And I'll leave it at that until we go to trial.
Go ahead.
Hello, I'm Tiffany Lane with Channel 3. So I know that this was obviously a big move. Is there anyone else being looked at this point? I know a lot of people have passed away since this incident, but is anyone else being looked at as part of this investigation still?
So as I stated earlier, In this case, the only living suspect related to this investigation is Duane Davis. All other 3 suspects are deceased.
Vanessa.
Thank you. Vanessa Murphy, Channel 8. Steve, can you talk about the murder charge if he is not the one believed to have pulled the trigger?
Yes, well, under Nevada law, and this is the law in most states in this country, you can be charged with a crime whether you're directly involved or whether you're an aider and abetter. We have an aiding and abetting statute, which provides that if you help somebody commit a crime, you can be equally as guilty. The best example is 2 guys that agree to commit a bank robbery, and one of them goes into the bank with a gun and actually commits the robbery, and the other guy is the getaway driver. Never went in the bank, but he assisted the guy that went in the bank, so he's equally guilty. That is one of the theories in this case as well.
Last question.
Do investigators believe that Davis was the only person behind the plan to kill Tupac, or was he one of multiple people who came up with this plan?
I think the best way to characterize that is Duane Davis was the shot caller for this group of individuals that committed this crime, and he orchestrated the plan that was carried out to commit this crime.
And can you say how he obtained the gun or who he obtained it from?
We know that he obtained it from a close associate. That a lot of the actual details of who specifically, all that come out at trial, but he obtained it from a close associate.
Thank you for coming.
Lieutenant,
Appreciate it.
Can you say anything to Davis that has said anything since the Mr. Wilson?
Wow. And that's it? Okay, that's it. Wow. Wow. Okay, guys. That is all she wrote on that. I mean, it's you could see they were very excited though. They were super hype about that. They were very, very super hype about getting their guy, getting the bad guy, you know. Now, again, they did say something at the end there that is kind of important. He's not the one who pulled the trigger. He's the one who made the call. So he's going to be looking at some serious ish. But the people who were the ones who did these things, they're no longer here. They gone, as he said near the end of that press conference. But this is some crazy stuff, y'all. I mean, this is huge. Now, I know that a lot of people are yeah, Drew. You know, and I would play the Vlad TV interview pieces, but I can't because, you know, the copyright stuff, and, you know, it's Vlad TV. He got like bots out here and stuff, so I can't really play that. But the one thing I am interested in seeing is the entries in the memoir in which he's describing what went down. You see what I'm saying? That's the piece that I'd love to see, because they're leaning on that as well. Now, I don't know what else they could have had on his head during the time when they first had him. I'm talking about Duane Davis. I'm wondering what they had on him before all this. But at the same time, man, you know, it was almost like he was willing to just say whatever at that time. S Baby, thank you so much for the 5 Canadian. Nah, Keefe's going to sing. Yeah. Puffy is next. Yeah, he did. Allegedly, he was saying some things about Puff Daddy as well in his interview on Vlad TV as well. I mean, it's like I said, it's pretty wild, the stuff that's come out as of recently, you know, and the stuff that's been around for a while too. Let's not forget that Memoir's been here. Those interviews have been, man, he went on the interview. He went on an interview 4 years ago to Vlad TV. He went on another one 4 months ago. So I mean, he's been talking. He's been saying some stuff. Okay. Now, no, Jeffrey, what's up, man? I'm not saying that he has anything to do with it. I think that he just might know more stuff when it comes to Puff. I don't know. You know, there's some weird stuff going around revolving around Puff Daddy with his NDAs and all that stuff. It's kind of crazy. But I do have somebody on here who has been covering the case on his own channel and on his podcast as well. 50 Words for Murder. What's up, Justin on TikTok? How you doing, my brother?
Good, Pascal. How are you doing?
Man, I'm good. I'm good.
I'm excited.
This is crazy. Okay, let me just say that really, really quick. This is some crazy stuff. I know that you've been covering it on your podcast, 50 Words for Murder. You recently did when they first went in and got basically all this evidence from, or at least items from
Search warrant.
Yeah, from the search warrant from Duane D's wife's home and everything. But yeah, man, let me hear your thoughts on this recent developments.
Yeah, so I'm excited. I remember, the day that I'm a massive Pac fan. He's, you've heard me say this. My friend said it. We said it on the podcast. Yeah. When it comes to rap, and I think you might not. I don't know if you totally agree with me or disagree with me on this, but regardless, there's Pac and then there's everyone else. Like he sets the standard. He is the gold standard. I mean, absolutely Biggie's legendary too. I don't want to discredit him, but Pac is absolutely legendary. Now, all of that out of the way, back in July when I saw that they were serving the search warrant on Keefe D's home, my jaw was on the floor. It's like, this is insane. This is a almost 30-year-old case, right. And we thought it was going to go unsolved. And as I'm sure you're well aware, as I'm sure a lot of your viewers are well aware, there are countless rumors speculating about this case, up to including he's really alive. Was Suge involved? Was P. Diddy involved? Was it the government because he was speaking out? Was it police because he knew something? Was it the gang? There was all these different things. And so I think that with Keefe D being arrested, I'm hoping that some dominoes fall. Now, I will tell you, again, we don't know anything. And so this is just off speculation, but I don't know if you watched the presser. It just ended. But watching
we just got done.
Okay. So watching the presser, you heard what he said then, that he was the one who organized this. You're not organized a few minutes after you just had a fight in the lobby of the MGM. Okay. That means, in my opinion, that this was set up, meaning that why would they have had beef with him prior to that? Or did somebody, maybe from New York, make a phone call and say, hey, we got to do something about Pac? I mean, I don't know if that's the case, but I mean, if there's any truth to some of the rumors, then, the head of bad boy should be shaken a little bit.
I mean, I'll say this. Obviously police have pieced two and two together. The basically Anderson getting curb stomped in the hotel lobby, which could, inspire the reason why, Keefe D made the call, so on and so forth. I mean, if that's the timeline and if that's the turn of events that they have basically broke down, then that's the turn of events that they broke down. Clearly, there's so many different angles here. I know that Tupac, although he was, he is the GOAT, still was somebody who's stirring the pot a lot, causing a lot of issues. So there was a lot of drama, East Side, West Side stuff, etc., so on and so forth. So yeah, it's easy for us to sit here and go, yeah, oh yeah, was it a call from the East Side saying, eliminate this dude? I don't know about all that, but I do know that this is one of the dumbest dudes, one of the dumbest criminals out here that was so busy in his own hubris, obsessed with his own, his own ego, that he had to brag, not only in memoirs, but also in interviews as well, basically saying, yeah, I was in the car when this whole thing went down. I'm the one who handed the gun to my boy to pull the trigger on both Suge and on Tupac. You know what I mean? It's absolutely asinine. So for me, it's like whether he was really the original shot caller or not, that remains to be seen right now. Because there could have been somebody higher up, maybe somebody from East Side or West Side saying, like, we done with him. He needs to be out. We don't know that, but we do know he is the person who made the call, handed over the gun to his boy, and was a part and was witness to all that stuff. You see what I'm saying? So
And he's now the person who's been charged. But
Yep.
here's the thing too. So in Pac's short life, from the time that he was shot when he was in New York, he was shot 5 times. To the day he died, he believed that Diddy was behind that. That it was Bad Boy was behind that. And you did mention him stirring the pot. I will also die on the hill that Hit 'Em Up is the greatest diss track of all time.
Come on now.
Of all time. And he minces no words in that. And so,
Zero.
and so you could really see it as, he talked a lot of shit about East Coast. And for a lot of people who don't remember or were too young to remember, the East Coast, West Coast wars, the rap wars in the 90s, I mean, they were a big deal.
Big deal.
It was like a extreme football rivalry, except with violence.
Right. It's a completely different ball game nowadays when it comes to beef. Like when they do these rap beefs and there's beef between like Drake and like somebody else or something like that. It's different. They're not getting into fisticuffs. No one's pulling out the heater. It is basically them writing poems to each other, literally on a beat. If you really think about it. But back in the day, man, they not only did they put it on vinyl, but they also took it to the streets.
They did.
But now, obviously the game is totally different. And you're right. He pushed a lot of people's buttons. He really did. He angered a lot of people. So that's why it was so easy for everyone to go, was it this person? Was it that person? Was it from that fight? Was it not from that fight? Was it East Side or West Side stuff? What really went down? Was it because he smashed some girl that was, was claimed by another dude? You know what I mean? That kind of thing. If you listen to the
opening line of Hit 'Em, if you listen to the opening line of Hit 'Em Up, I mean, it's exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
But one thing that I found really interesting about Pac was not a big dude, right? He was like 5'7", something like that.
Yeah.
But he was fearless, and he and Mike Tyson became friends, and we're talking about like 1990s Mike Tyson, like in his prime Mike Tyson. And when they were both in prison at the same time, they exchanged letters. And one thing that Mike Tyson has said is that the only person that was never like scared of him was Pac. And I just found that really interesting. That because I mean, I'd be scared to death of Mike Tyson, but even now, as like an old man, I don't want to,
Oh, he's vicious.
He is vicious. But Pac was never scared of him, and and for Tyson, he's the only one who wasn't.
Yeah, I like I said, I feel like with everything, I mean, this is a guy who was larger than life. He gave 2 damns. He didn't give 2 damns. I'm sorry, he didn't care. He was busy doing his ish and being Tupac. But yeah, I mean, it is kind of crazy the amount of speculation and theories that have been, floating around this case. And now we have something. But what's interesting though is how people are still trying to stir the pot. Mm-hmm. Sitting there going, whoa, wait. Was Keefe D really the shot caller, or was there a higher up? Was there somebody else who called the shots and he was just in the car handing the gun over to Anderson, and then they did what they did? You see what I'm saying? And I'm like, well, maybe that isn't. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. But we do know that he wrote it in his memoir. Unless this dude's lost his doggone mind.
Nah,
he's
there.
Lost his mind, but he was there.
He was in the footage in He was in the footage of the Las Vegas hotel. And the thing is,
he's just dumb.
The Crips are a big gang, and it's not disorganized. It is organized crime. It is organized crime, the same as like the mafia or the Bloods or any other whatever group you want to call it. It is organized crime, and so you would have a shot caller, you would have a capo, for lack of a better term, that would be doing this. And he has said it was him, and I think that he felt that he was invincible because you can sit here and admit to whatever you want, but without evidence, it's not going to stick. Yeah. And based on it was kind of short what they said in the presser, but it was basically like somebody had reached out to the police, somebody who I guess was a close affiliate or close associate, whatever it was, that was able to hand them information, that allowed them to make this arrest and allow them, to move forward with this. He just might have made it easier for them to determine who it was because he wouldn't shut up.
Right.
For years, he wouldn't shut up about it. But yeah, I mean, there was a lot of reasons, you know, that people might want to take Pac out. But the other thing I'll say real quick is, you know, I think that when people are coming in saying, well, was he this? Was there a higher up? When people are saying a higher up, they're saying, was it Diddy? I think people want it to be Diddy. Hell, I want it to be Diddy because it would make sense.
But see, that's the thing. It would make sense, but at the same time, it may not. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's really easy for us to lean on that.
That's why I want to lean on it.
But it could be. Yeah, I know. We all of us want to lean on that. All of us do. But what if it's just as simple as Tupac getting into a brawl and he just brawled with the wrong dudes out in Vegas? Real talk. Think about it for a second, because you got to remember, these are you got Suge, who's Suge, okay, and you got Tupac.
Suge is a problem.
Oh, Suge is a huge problem, but I'm just saying, and that's another conversation in itself. But I'm just saying, you got Suge and you got Tupac. They're on top of the world. You got Tupac, who's feeling like you know what I mean? He's feeling like he's untouchable, right? People come up to him, whatever happens, they get into a tussle. They curb stomp some fools in a hotel lobby. They move on with their day. They don't give a damn. Then all of a sudden, retaliation happens, right? Revenge happens. I'm sure Tupac didn't think that, probably didn't even think that he was going to get hit at all that day with this drive-by. You see what I'm saying? Now, I know there's some people out here that are, diehard Tupac fans or diehard Tupac crime, the true hip-hop true crime, okay, that are going to sit there and go, nah, man, you're wrong, bro. Okay, that's fine. But think about it. With the amount of bravado, the amount of ego, the amount of he's on top of the world, he is Tupac. What are the chances of him just effing around and finding out with the wrong group of guys?
All right,
and that's it. Because he believes, because he's got Suge and because he is who he is, that he's just untouchable.
Right,
and then he effed around and he found out. Bang.
Okay, well,
you know what I mean?
Let's talk about what you're saying. That he pissed off some guys in the lobby. They pulled up next to him and shot him. Okay, so let's talk about the time frame. Let's go back to 1996 here for a minute. Okay. You have the version of cell phones you have are very different. The way you're going to watch a fight, like a Mike Tyson fight, who is going to be a massive headliner at the time, you're going to be watching it on pay-per-view. You're going to be somewhere doing it. You know that the venue is going to be packed. It was, it's the way that it was back then is that you had to physically go there or physically go somewhere. Mm-hmm. You couldn't watch it on your phone, So you would typically go somewhere that you could get the pay-per-view fight for or whatever. They were there. They left a casino in Las Vegas on an incredibly busy night. Unless they were parked right next to each other, Pockets and his BMW, which he's going to have probably, special service, valet, whatever. These other people probably aren't. Even if they do, the cars aren't going to get pulled up right beside each other. But then they go. So somebody had to know where he was going.
Yeah.
Know the route that he was going to then be able to pull. It wasn't just happenstance that you just pull up on this guy in one of the busiest towns on one of the busiest fight nights and then take him out.
Hold on now. Hold on.
Yeah.
Woo! Oh, I'm happy you're on here right now, man. Okay, so let's talk about that for a second.
Let me just say I called him up earlier and I said, "Why are you not live right now?"
But I was busy. I was running things, and I'm like, "Okay, wait a second. I'm gonna get to it." I was like, "I'm gonna get to it," and then as soon as I heard about the press conference, I'm like, "Okay, let me abbreviate everything so I can get here as quickly as I can, so we can watch this press conference because it is huge." But I'm glad you're mentioning that stuff. Let's talk about this really quick. Do you realize how small Vegas is? Think about that for a second. Many times. It's minuscule. Okay, it's very small. So you got all the biggest stars going and seeing a fight. He's in town specifically for that fight. You can do the math. Like that's doing the math. It takes 2 seconds. What are the chances of him sitting there? They do that curb stomp. They're feeling good. They go off to this, the next day they go to the fight. Right? Everybody and their mama already knows all the biggest celebs are going to be at that spot. What are the chances of Keefe D, his boys in that white Cadillac just sitting out waiting for him to pull around? And then they go out and they brap. That's it. All you got to do is wait.
because they pulled up next to him at the light. They would have had, but that still, it doesn't change what I'm saying. They would have had to have known where he was going to be on the same route. And they would not have had the service because he basically had car service. He would not have had the same service. They were not too close. They were gang members, but they were nobodies. They weren't celebrities. He was a massive celebrity in 1996. You couldn't get much bigger, especially in the rap game. You couldn't get bigger than him.
True.
And these people aren't. So he's going to have a car pull up right at the front, take him where he's going. They still pull up next. They would have, somebody had to have sold him out to know where he was going, or it would have had to have been orchestrated.
Fair. That is a fair assessment, or that's a fair theory. But you also got to remember too. I mean, that it's a good possibility, but then who's the one who sold him out? That's the other question too. It's a good point. Yeah, Jen Madison just said, good point, and maybe. It is very Sherlock Holmesy of you. Okay, Sherlock homeboy of you. Because we're doing Tupac and everything.
I got you.
But still, we don't know, because again, if you know that the fight is going to be at this particular venue, and all you got to do is just kind of sit on the side and just kind of wait when the fight is out. You see what I'm saying? And maybe pull around, wait for him to drive around, so on and so forth. It's not that hard.
You'd have to know what kind of car he was in too. You'd have to know what kind of car he would have been in.
That's true too. That's very, very true. So you got a good point there. There's a possibility somebody, put the drop on him. Maybe, you know what I mean?
Maybe should.
But maybe it was just happenstance. Maybe it was just pure luck. Right. And also, you guys won't see me put any Vlad TV stuff on here because I'm hearing that other people got their streams taken down because of Vlad. Like I said, trust me, I would love to play Keefe D's the multiple times that he would talk on Vlad TV, but I know better than to get myself in trouble because of that. Yeah, it's Vlad TV, y'all. It's Vlad TV. But one of the things, though, regardless of that, I mean, I guess the question is, there's a lot of theory and there was a lot of speculation of maybe Suge being the one making the call because he wanted to immortalize Tupac. Maybe he saw the money that Biggie was making for Puff. You know what I mean? I mean, think about it.
On that, I want to say something on that. So a lot of people who are familiar, if you follow hip hop, you follow this world at all, and you know who Suge Knight is, then you know that this man is bad news. Like every bit about him. He's in jail for running somebody over and then putting the car in reverse.
He's the devil.
He's literally in jail for that right now. So my point is, there's a story so when I was doing research for the podcast, I learned a couple things about him that I did not know. For example, Snoop, as we know, was on death row also. And apparently Snoop was a gangster before he was a rapper. They just got to a point where they realized that they made more money selling records about drugs than actually selling drugs. Right. So he was a true gangster. And there was a story where they were on a flight. Suge and Snoop were on a flight together. And Snoop was so terrified of Suge that he slept with like a fork in one hand and a knife in the other when he slept on that plane.
Because it's Suge.
Because it's Suge. And the thing is, there was rumors that Pac was, I don't want to put it this way because it was every bit true, but that Pac was getting, maybe big for his britches there. And was talking about maybe leaving death row, and he didn't want that, but he knew. But then Suge would have known that had Pac died, death row would still own all the rights to Pac's music, which continue to come out posthumously, well after his death.
Machiavelli, etc.
Well, Machiavelli is very interesting, and that's when you get into the theory of him still being alive, because that was released 2 months after he died when he was changing his name to Machiavelli. And I mean, the theories, this is why the podcast episode about him is 2 hours long, because it's so much.
Right. There's a lot to dissect. That's why everybody was like turning him into the Black Elvis, right? Like, oh yeah, I saw him in Hawaii, oh, he's not dead. Machiavelli, these albums keep coming out, blah, blah, blah. No, it is a record company capitalizing off the fact of a dead artist. Let's keep it real. Same thing Puff Daddy did. I'm sorry, I'll say it. I don't give a damn. Puff Daddy did the same doggone thing. I'll be missing you. You know, him shucking and jiving across a stage with, you know, in all white with doves flying and everywhere. He did that for years. He's still doing stuff off of that. You know what I mean? So there is a possibility. I mean, you know, there is that theory out there that Suge might have just tore a page out of Puff Daddy's book and said, hey, let's make this call real quick so we can immortalize Tupac because he is one of the greatest. And I'll still make some money off that ish. It is a possibility.
Let's be real. Suge was in that car and he received minimal damage.
He did.
Being right next to him.
Right next to him. That is true. That is true. It's crazy, guys. It's man, this is it's crazy. But nonetheless,
you have to have me on this. I think I have to talk about this.
What? Second, what?
I said that's why I was like, you have to have me on this.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, I mean, but it's interesting because you do have like, okay, let me just pull out this blurb here from US Today real quick. Okay, and it says this is from Keefe D's book. Okay, so in the book, Duane Davis, aka Keefe D, okay, he said he broke his silence over Tupac's unaliving in 2010 during a closed door meeting. And I said this earlier, but I wanted to, now that you're on with me, I wanted to bring this back. So he had a closed door meeting with federal and local authorities. At the time, he was 46 and facing life in prison on drug charges when he agreed to speak with authorities. They promised they would shred the indictment and stop the grand jury if I helped them out, he said. This is what he wrote in his book. Okay, he has described himself as one of the last living witnesses to the shooting. Now, the thing is, I know some people, you know, some people in the chat are basically saying like, okay, 5-0 basically painted him in a corner, and he was, you know, some people are saying, hey, he was willing to say anything so that he can save his own ass. If that's the case, though, if that was the case, why would he pick Tupac's murder to sit there and go, yeah, I was there? You see what I'm saying? Like, why would he lie to save his own ass? Because at the end of the day, it didn't really save his ass. Sure, he was available or able to breathe in the freedom air for 13 more years. But other than that, he's still being locked up right now as we speak and being indicted on some serious charges. So I think that they had him on something. He started to squawk, but he's been squawking. Okay, guys, he's been squawking in these interviews, in these memoirs. He is the world's dumbest criminal. Thank God he's the world's dumbest criminal.
Most arrogant. Well, I mean, 30 years he's been out. But, you know, even as I had to look this up while you were talking too, because even 5 years ago, you know, Eminem came out with the song Kill Shot, and there's a line in it that's the day that Diddy admits he put the hit out that got Pac killed. I mean, that was in a line in a song 5 years ago. So I don't know if you knew that part, but yeah, you know, this is something that's still very much in mainstream culture with that. And, you know, I know that Eminem obviously, because Eminem did mix the beat and put together Ghetto Gospel, which is a phenomenal song, which honestly, just being very, very honest and open here, did not know that song existed until about 3 months ago when I was doing
what's up.
My research. And it's like I freaking love that song. It's an amazing
wow.
song. Because who would have thought that Elton John, Tupac, and Eminem all together in one song would, you know, I mean, it's three absolute legends doing a song, but
something different, right?
Something else. Great song.
Something else. Definitely something else. Wow. Okay. Wow. Okay. Let me pull this up too, so we can see this piece too. This guy did after a cancer diagnosis. Okay. He admitted publicly in an interview for a BET show, to being inside the Cadillac during the attack. He implicated his nephew, Anderson, or Orlando Anderson, saying he was one of the two people in the back seat where the shots were fired. Now, the thing is, okay, and the shooting happened shortly after the casino brawl earlier in the evening involving Anderson, Shakur, let's not forget Suge Knight, and others. Okay, it was Suge Knight and Shakur in that big old brawl. I mean, shoot, you could even see the brawl. It's funny how people kind of piece the thing together. If you watch, isn't it All Eyes on Me? I think it's the movie. Oh man, it's so bad. But but in that movie, they even show the brawl, and then the very next day, and you know, in a way, you kind of piece it together your own self, being like, well, there's no really crazy conspiracy theory up in this piece. It's he fought these guys, they felt angry, and they retaliated. You see what I'm saying? But now we have proof of this, right? Now we have information. But I'm also wondering, though, too, let's talk about the search warrant. The search warrant that happened just a few months ago. And this, by the way, guys, this is a decades-long investigation. Literally, this was a cold case, all right? But just a few months ago, they did a search warrant, went into Duane Davis's wife's home, took out tubs of stuff, photographs, the memoir, bullets, etc. What could they get from the evidence that they got from that house that they could use against Keefe D or Duane Davis decades later in a murder case? That's what I would like to know.
I would like to know that too, because you're talking about 30 years. Unless he really truly is the world's dumbest criminal, and he kept
the gun.
You know, people do keep trophies. Maybe he kept the gun. Maybe he kept ammo that directly matches. Maybe he kept ammo that directly matches what was fired that night. You know, we don't know. And I guess I will find out, you know, as this goes on, which like I said, I'm definitely going to be following this, but it's very, you know, it's interesting. I don't know, but they found enough that allowed them to make an arrest. The thing is too, though, going back to something that you were saying a second ago about, like, you know, could it just be, and look, maybe it is that simple. Maybe it is just, he pissed off the wrong people because, you know, he was Pac, and that's just what he did. And he pissed off the wrong people, and they shot him and killed him. Maybe it is that simple. But you would think that, given the status that Pac was, the elevated status that he was, who he was, that they knew, like, would a gang, would a leader of the Crips say, let it go, or is it really worth bringing this much heat on us? Is it really worth bringing this much heat? Because a lot of times they won't do it because again, it becomes not personal at that point. I mean, yeah, sometimes they do things personal, but it is a business. It is an organized crime business. And the people who are at the top brass in those organizations, aren't going to make a poor, rash decision, especially for free, that's going to bring a ton of heat on them. Now, if they got paid, you know, $1 million to do it, then maybe that's different. And then, you know, and maybe they made him get into a fight. You know, they knew how, you know, he's real easy, especially if somebody was like, hey, Pac's going to be in this car. This is where he's going. This is what time he'll be there. Somebody close to him knew that and gave him that information. Then they would also be able to say, this is the type of person that he is. Plus, I mean, you could see it in the news literally all the time, how he was. And they knew how to press his buttons and antagonize him to get him to react in a certain way, to make it look a certain way.
That could be it.
Because Baby Lane was gunned down a year later. He's been the fall guy for 26 years.
Yeah.
27 years.
I mean, he's not really the fall guy. He's the trigger man. I mean, at the end of the day, he's still the trigger man.
He's the trigger
that
man,
hasn't changed.
That's the trigger man, but they can make it look like, because he's the one who they got into a fight with, they can make it look like it was just him and basically isolate, you know, and shield the rest of the organization.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I see what you're saying. But for me, it's like, okay, yeah. I feel like a lot of people's theories are correct as far as what went down, who did it, who shot him, all that stuff. I think we have that now. Now it's just a matter of, is it going to be something deeper? Are there other layers to this? Or is it just as simple as Tupac and Suge Knight effed around, and they effed around with the wrong people? They messed with the wrong group. And that's it. You see what I'm saying? But you know, and I get it that there's people out here going, "Ooh, Diddy's coming." You know, I see Grateful in here saying, "Oh, Diddy's next," and there's a lot of people who are saying that. And I'm wanting to know,
my life too.
Yeah, and I'm wanting to know if that is true. You see what I'm saying?
Well, I'd like to know that if it's true too, but here's the thing: I don't think we'll ever know.
Yeah, I don't think so
Because-
either.
Because even he's not going to sing. He's not going to sing to save his own ass. Those types of
No.
people like him, when you live a life of organized crime and you are, a higher up in organized crime, you don't snitch. You don't.
No.
You don't want to be a rat in those organizations. If you snitch, so there's more people on the inside that are associated with those gangs too, and they will take you out.
Yeah.
Inside the prison, they will absolutely do it. He's not gonna stay.
Well, the other thing also too I want to point out is, well, first off, guys, if you're watching right now, please be sure to hit that like button down below if you appreciate the conversation. This is huge news, breaking big ass news, guys. Okay, they are, man, the murder of Tupac has basically been solved ish.
Allegedly.
I'll put it allegedly, okay, but. Definitely hit that like button down below. Send those likes all the way up. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook, be sure to hit that follow or that like. Yeah, that follow button as well, please, on my Facebook page. Okay. Definitely fire off in the comments in the family chat. Let me know. Does this satiate your appetite? Is this satisfying for you? Or do you think that there's more to it? Now, when we talk about Diddy really quick, Diddy ain't going to talk. You want to know why Diddy ain't going to talk? He's willing to give away, and this is kind of a little bit of a sidestep, but it kind of has something to do with like how he is. He's giving away the royalties back to his artists, but the artists have to sign some crazy NDA that basically says they can't talk about him, they can't talk on him, they can't talk ill on him, so on and so forth. It is so ironclad that a lot of these artists are like, nah, I don't need it then, because I want to speak freely about my experience working with Diddy, so on and so forth. So yeah, Diddy ain't gonna talk.
No.
Diddy ain't gonna talk. If he's trying to do that kind of thing, if he's trying to cover his own ass with his artists, God only knows what these artists even know. You feel me?
He's well insulated.
Go ahead.
No, he's well insulated for sure, and he's not a dumb man. He's a billionaire now, isn't he? I mean, you don't get to that level.
He got money.
Especially in music, he's very good. You take out even his own music career, and you just look at him as a producer and the head of Bad Boy Records. He's made amazing moves. He's not a dumb man. He's gonna keep himself insulated, and I don't think you're gonna ever see. We're never gonna know for sure if he was. We can speculate, but I don't think we're ever gonna know.
But you got to remember, he got really lucky with running into Biggie. Discovering Biggie, discovering Faith Evans, discovering Mace, discovering all these big names back in the day. He got really lucky with it. And then on top of it, he got, this sounds so messed up, but the death of Biggie catapulted Bad Boy Records.
That's a talk, catapulted Death Row.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, you could say the same thing about Dre then. Like he got lucky by picking who he signed with, after NWA, and you could just, it's part of it's luck, part of it's skill, and part of it too is both. Part of it is meeting somebody saying, "Hey, this dude's got talent. Let's do something with it." Yeah. So he made good moves. He was able to recognize that, and he was able to do it well. But the thing that I'm just going to kind of take a sidebar where we can say is I find it really interesting how many of these, and I think we might have talked about this the other day, how many of these old, really well-known cases are starting to see movement again. Pac's case has seen movement, as we see. JonBenet Ramsey's case is seeing movement.
Yeah.
Natalie Holloway's case is seeing movement. The top suspects has been extradited to the U.S. and is awaiting trial on extortion and fraud charges, but I guarantee they're going to try to get him on murder while he's here. Madeleine McCann's case has had movement. It's all of these really super famous cold cases are starting to have movement. I would like to see Biggie's case starting to get a little bit of movement too.
I would love to see Biggie get some justice. I would love to see that. And I guess that's the reason why a lot of people are like, oh, Diddy next. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's anything. I don't know if it's anything as sinister with Diddy. But then again, but then again, anything's possible, right? But I feel like he's one of the first producers, managers out here that took the death of somebody, of an artist, and capitalized off of it.
Well, let's call it
what I'm saying?
Exploited.
He exploited the hell out of it. Damn right he did, right? He exploited the hell out of that. And then he made he made money, right? But then, you know, and you see that on certain labels as well, people doing that as well. It's the same MO. Oh, let's take such and such name. He just passed. Oh God, RIP. But we're going to tug at the heartstrings and still come out with a banger and a banger album, you know, that kind of thing. So it is interesting. Yeah.
You know what I think is a little bit different though? Because I mean, the same thing happened with Pac. There was a lot of songs, a lot of albums released posthumously, as we know. But I think that it was different. That it was yes, obviously you want to put this stuff out to make money on it. But I think for a lot of it, Pac didn't rap unless he had something to say. He didn't rap unless he had something to say. And his words, I mean, the man was an incredibly eloquent wordsmith, incredibly eloquent. So for those of y'all who don't know, he did ballet, he did acting, he was a dancer, he was a poet, he was
an artist.
He was a true artist, and he was an incredibly deep, incredibly intelligent individual. His backstory, being raised by Black Panthers, you know, just an amazing thing. And from a very young age, you know, he was able to see a lot of the struggles that the Black community was facing. That I remember watching, I forget which documentary, that one of the guys who knew him, like a cousin of his or something, who was significantly older, was like, he was saying and talking about shit that was like right in front of us that we didn't even see until he brought it to our attention. The man was just a freaking genius.
He was wide awake.
But I
basically he was wide awake. And let's not forget, near the end of his time, I mean, he was pumping out album after album. I mean, he was constantly in the studio recording, doing all these crazy stuff, and he was doing movies as well. I mean, as much as you said, he only went and recorded when he had something to say. Near the end, he had a lot to say. You know what I'm saying? And but yeah, you know, that's just some people just are brimming with talent, and he just happens to be one of those people, and that angered, I feel, a lot of people. Hence the reason why it was very easy for all of us to avert our eyes in different directions, being like, oh, this could be more sinister. This could be deeper than just a brawl.
That's why I titled the episode of that podcast episode, I didn't call it The Murder of Tupac Shakur. I said the assassination of, because it was an assassination. Because the man, no matter whether he was killed for what he said, what he believed or not, you know, that was the type of figure that he was. He wasn't just a murder. He was an assassination. Now, I would call Biggie a murder. And not that Biggie didn't have things to say. Biggie was an incredible talent. I'm not trying to downplay him. But one thing real quick that I'll say that is sad about both of them is both of them were very intelligent. Both of them were very talented. Both of them were very stupid because they both had the world on their shoulders. There was room for both of them. And both of them let this rivalry, their tempers, whatever you want to say, caused them to get into enough beef with enough people that it ended their lives at like 27 years old. I can't imagine what we would be seeing from a 40 to 50-year-old Tupac. I can't even imagine the incredible works that this man would be putting out.
I'll tell you what, he would have already had like 15 kids with Jada Pinkett Smith.
Probably.
Will Smith would be on the side. Like
Chris Rock would have never slapped him.
A divorce. Yeah, it would have. No, that would not have happened by now. There would be all that. I mean, let's be real. I'm also wondering what Jada Pinkett is thinking right now with all this information that is just so dropped, and they were very close. She does not shy away from letting everybody know that they were close. Dear God. But also, wasn't there a movie with Johnny Depp about the investigation into the death of Tupac? Wasn't there a movie with Johnny Depp in it? And they're talking about.
I want to see it. I don't know. I'm gonna Google it.
Was it, or was it Biggie? It was one of them. It was one of the big. It was one of them, but I think it was West Side. I think it was the death of Tupac.
Was it City of Lies?
I think it's City of Lies.
I have never seen this. Guess what? I know what I'm doing tonight.
I'm gonna be watching it too. I haven't seen it yet,
I didn't even know it existed.
Yeah. No. Well, you're welcome. You're welcome. That's.
People are saying it on mine too. By the way, so I want to say that somebody, and I don't know if they're still in here, said on my live. So I'm on live too, so they can watch, us, listen to us talk.
Yeah.
Part of maybe why we're seeing so much more movement in some of these investigations, these old cold cases, is maybe it's just all a new set of eyes, fresh eyes, looking at it from a different perspective.
You know what?
That
could be it too. It could be that. It also could be. This is kind of weird to say, but it could be 5-0 or certain people actually giving a damn instead of it just being, oh, just a bunch of black people shooting and killing each other back in the day. Maybe things have changed.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute. Let's talk
Yeah.
about 1990s West Coast
You want to talk about 1990s
and black people. I mean, like, okay, I'm like the widest dude. I'm like the widest dude here. Like,
this man just went where? Okay, let's talk about it. 90s were 90s, baby. 90s were terrible.
And the 90s were nice, had good music. And the 90s had good stuff, but for the black community, it was a pivotal shift and change. You know, starting before Rodney King, but Rodney King alone, you know, made a big impact. And then you had, you know, people like NWA come out on the scene, which, you know, then that just enraged law enforcement and, you know, the legislators, city legislators, city officials more. And the thing is, though, too, going back to Pac on this, Pac did the same shit, but he did it so much more eloquently. Pac didn't come out and just say, fuck the, sorry, are you allowed to cuss on your thing?
Not really. I try to steer clear from that.
Sorry, F the police. Sorry,
right.
my bad.
You're good. You're good. You're good.
And Pac would say things, but he would say it in just a more poetic way. And so, you know, I agree with you. In Las Vegas in 1996, they probably didn't give a damn about a black guy getting killed.
Different pair of eyes. Like you just said, fresh eyes now in comparison to what it was in the 90s. In the 90s, I feel like a lot of things would have just kind of been swept under the rug, overlooked, you know, disregarded, but also at the same time, there is no digital imprint. There's no digital, what's the word? There's no digital footprints showing of deleting something or blah, blah, blah. It could just be paperwork that gets burned, paperwork that just happens to get thrown away in a wastebasket without anybody looking. And I feel like during those times, and I feel like a lot of people at that time were feeling that kind of thing of, oh, okay, so the police aren't going to do not a damn thing because they just think it's just a bunch of black people killing black people. So whatever, you know what I mean? But now that we live in a different time, and also on top of it, you got a dumbass criminal speaking out and putting it all up in the videos. Suge Knight, all up in the videos. He's all up in these videos. He's all up in this memoir saying these things. You can't ignore that. So for 5-0 to ignore that would keep everybody giving them hell with the fact that they weren't willing to at least investigate into the memoir or in these interviews that he's more than happy to put out. But I also have to say this too. They got him on other charges first.
I'm sure.
They brought him in on other charges. Like I just said a second ago, they brought him in on other charges. If they did not get him on those charges, again, they had a closed meeting because he was facing life in prison on drug charges in 2010. If he did not get caught with those things or catch those kind of possible charges and possibly look at life behind bars because of those drug charges, we'd still be wondering who shot Tupac. That's what I think too.
But you know, they're smart with the way that they do that. Yeah, but they're smart with the way that they do that because they hold those charges. Like, so, you know, if they've been you know, looking at him for a long time, right? And they're like, well, we think he might be connected to this. They're going to sit there and like hold these smaller charges until they know that they're close and they can bring him in and have a reason to hold him. So it is smart the way that they do it. But, you know, going back to what you were saying earlier and going back to the 90s. Oh, so the police didn't take the killing of black people as seriously as other people. Can you tell how surprised I am?
I know, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's still a tale as old as time. Even today. Okay, it's still a problem today.
At least now you have things that help keep them accountable. But but with him again, I feel like it was kind of the same thing. But yeah, he's a dumb criminal. He's a dumb criminal. Like, you know, you don't go out and say, "Hey guys, I did it. I was there that night. Oh, there's footage of me with, you know, at this fight." And anyways.
Yeah. Oh, and the other thing too, Perry Mack just said this. Technically, he didn't shoot. Yeah, he didn't. But he also was the person who was the shot caller. He also was the person. Vegas. He also was the person who handed over the gun, etc. They even said it in that press briefing that press conference that he is just as guilty as if he was in the one in the getaway car, driving a bank robber away from the actual crime. So just because he didn't pull the trigger does not mean that he's in the clear. He's going to be looking at some serious time.
And he called the hit. So he was the shot caller. So they would not have on their own, if it was, I assume that it was Orlando that pulled the trigger. That's what I assume. I think that's a generally well agreed upon consensus that Orlando Baby Lane pulled the trigger. But he would not have pulled the trigger. Him or whoever would not have pulled the trigger without Keefe D giving that order. This is an organized crime. The people below you are your soldiers. That's how it is.
Shot caller.
Yeah. 20's blade.
Getting laid tonight. Like, yep. You know what I'm talking about, son. You already know what I'm talking about. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so he didn't pull the trigger, but under Las Vegas or under Nevada law, that doesn't matter. He's still just as guilty for murder of use with a deadly weapon because of that and his involvement. And that's the way that the law was written. So anybody who thinks that, oh, well, he technically didn't pull the trigger, he's going to get off. Nah, not for that. I'm not saying that he's going to be convicted or not. I don't know. We don't know what all they have, but I'm saying that it's not going to be for that charge. I guarantee you that they know before they made this arrest, they knew very much exactly how this was going to play out. They knew that there's going to be a ton of press on this, and they made sure that their I's were dotted and their T's were crossed before they brought this guy in.
Yep. And that's exactly what they said. You know, they didn't want to go aimlessly getting out here saying, oh, we got him and we're doing this. And then all of a sudden, all the charges, everything they have against him fumble or basically crumble right at his feet. They want to be able to get him and lock him up for good. So I'm glad they took the time that they did. And that's the thing too. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm bad at this too from time to time, especially when I'm passionate about a particular case, when I want transparency from 5-0 and when I feel like there's not transparency happening. A lot of times, it's frustrating because you want to know everything right then and there. But a lot of times it is like this, where it's paperwork. It's literally just paperwork and making sure all their T's are crossed and lowercase J's are dotted. Real talk. So I am happy.
Walk on a technicality. You don't want them to walk on a technicality.
No, you don't, because then it's going to be very hard to bring them back in and indict them on those charges again. So it's crazy, guys. But Justin, I really do appreciate you hopping on and having the conversation with me here. Everybody, please go over to Justin on TikTok. You can follow him on TikTok, which is Justin on TikTok. He's got over 1 million followers on TikTok. So this man is very good at what he does, very informative as well. You can also go and subscribe to his YouTube channel, which is Justin on TikTok. So
I'm trying to grow based on your advice.
You should.
I know. There are two things
wrong with you.
Well, on your advice, I got one more left to do. I've uploaded all the podcasts to YouTube based on your advice.
I saw that mine is up now. The one that
yes, the one that you've been up for a month. I'm about to drop the other one tomorrow.
Oh, I thought it just got
no, it got dropped on the 1st of October or 1st of September. 1st of September.
There you go.
I thought you knew that. It doesn't matter. And so two things I want to say before I go. One is, you mentioned being passionate about a case. And I'm going to say this. I am passionate about this case because, I mean, when he was killed, I was 14 years old, right? So I was still very young, but I love his music. I don't think with certain bands, like, I just love them. And I love every song. And he's not a band, he's an artist, but I don't think there's one song that he's done that I don't like. I think everything is good. And I feel like I was robbed of decades more of music from somebody a talent like the world will never see again.
Right.
So that's the first thing I want to say. The second thing is, you might not want to, so I will ask you this, and then you can choose if you want to leave it on a hook. Do you want to tell them what we're working on?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
You don't have to. You can just leave them wondering and be like,
no. We are literally in the middle of working on our own podcast.
Spinoff.
Our own little spinoff. Just talking about, I guess, whatever the hell we want to talk about. But that's still in the works. We're still working on it. We haven't fully solidified a title yet and all that, guys, but we are going to be doing something. And if you like this kind of banter that we're having here, we're going to be doing it more on a regular basis on our own on our own platform, our own podcast as well. So that's going to be coming very, very soon. Your boy's going to be very busy coming up in the.
Yeah, I'm already very busy.
You're
You're very busy. You know,
right.
It's just, you just never stop. Like when I'm dead, I can stop. But you know, it's what it is. But seriously, thank you for having me on. If you have any more discussion about this, feel free to call me. I love talking about this. You know, I'm very passionate for him, and you know, because I think that what he did from a young age was pretty damn incredible.
I mean, listen, there's not a whole lot of people that have that amount of talent and we're able to do as much work and as much create so much work out there like he did. And man, I don't know how he did it. Maybe it was copious amounts of cocaine. I don't know what it was, but he was able to do what he did, and that's an amazing talent. And of course, he'll be sorely missed. Go ahead.
Did you see the interview with him when he was like 17 years old in that documentary? Have you seen that? You need to look. I did find it and send it to you. At like 17 years old, he's in high school, and he's a kid, 17-year-old kid, he's more enlightened than 50, 60, 70-year-olds I've known. At 17, he was so enlightened. He was, like I said, he's very much appreciated, but even as much as he's appreciated, I think he's still underappreciated.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree. But you know, I also think it's the upbringing, the people that he had around him as a kid, so on and so forth. You know, being around that type of influence, I think, requires you to open your mind at a very early age, you know. And there's also the thing of just having an old soul, you know. That could 100%. Be it too, you know. But Justin, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much for hopping on and chopping it up with us, man. You know,
anytime. You know, I love coming on here. Yeah, you know, I love doing stuff with you. All right, I will talk to you later, Pascal.
All right, brother. Much love. Right. Peace. So yeah, guys, big, huge piece of information today. Big, huge breaking news. My mind is still pretty blown right now, but I am very thankful. I am very, very thankful about this, because let's be real. It's decades in the making. Now, I know that it doesn't answer every question that we have, but at least it gives us a little bit more information on something, right? But now the main question is, was he really the one who called the shot, or was there somebody else who called the shot? And then he was the one who just executed it with his guys. That's the question I think a lot of us are curious about as well. But I think we're going to be knowing more information as time goes on. 5-0 is doing their due diligence. This dude's been arrested, and he is locked up right now. So we'll see when a trial is, etc. This is going to be crazy. And I hope they have cameras in the trial, because we are definitely going to be watching that. For sure. Anyway, guys, I appreciate all y'all for being on. Thank you to Justin on TikTok for hopping on and being a part of the conversation. Again, please go check him out on TikTok and on his YouTube channel. They're both Justin on TikTok, literally Justin on TikTok. One word, go follow him over there. But over here, because I'm, gluttonous and, greedy, please be sure to hit that like button down below. Crush it. If you're watching on Facebook, make sure you hit that reaction button down below. That would be greatly appreciated. If you're watching on YouTube, crush that subscribe button, please and thank you. Hit that notification bell if you're watching on YouTube as well. Set it to all so that you know whenever I go live, whenever I upload, because it is random. Especially when we got these constant breaking stories popping off like crazy, okay? And there's more, I'm sure, that's going to be coming from this particular case very, very soon. And we got other stories that we are covering that I'm still watching, and we still got some information. I got a few pop-up videos to do over this weekend, so trust and believe. Make sure that notification bell is on. Also on Facebook, if you're watching there, hit that follow button, please, and thank you. Don't forget, okay, to hit that notification bell over there as well to let you know whenever I upload or whenever I go live, okay? Please and thank you, guys, okay? And, of course, follow, share, all that stuff, okay? It's, man, What a crazy week, y'all. What a crazy, crazy week. And more is coming. Trust me, more craziness is coming very, very soon. Maybe not in this particular case, but in other ones very, very soon. And we'll be going through it together, holding hands together in all of this roller coaster ride that we call life. Anyway, guys, I appreciate all y'all. I'll be seeing you guys very soon. If I don't see you this weekend, have a safe and wonderful and prosperous weekend. Do something positive for yourself. Do something positive for someone you love. Anyway, guys, it's time to get going. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. And I'll see you guys very soon. This is the Pascal Show. Bye.